Hello, and welcome to 1 Week Only. I'm Conor, and this is an interview for the documentary At the Video Store, which you can probably assume correctly is about video stores. It's a lovely documentary tribute to many of the video stores across the country who are, or until very recently, were still alive. The kind of the mom and pop stores that managed to survive Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and were still going along because they believed in it, because the people there loved movies so much they kept those stores open. The people who in those communities kept coming and renting videos. It's a really charming film because it's all about why video stores matter. Does it in the day of streaming and Redbox, why does a video store matter? It's because of the people who come, the conversations you have, the incredible selection you can get at a video store you can't get online. And the film has lots of great interviews with both the video store owners, but also people like Bill Hader, Nicole Holofcener, Todd Haynes, John Waters. So it has a lot of great filmmakers, people in the film industry who have lots of great memories of video stores and are happy to talk about it. And if you're a video store fan like I am, it's a real treat to watch and spend 70 minutes reveling in video store culture. Now, I saw the film thanks to Alamo Drafthouse and their video store section, Video Vortex, are doing VHStival, which is kind of run by Josh Schaefer, who does the website Lunch Meat VHS and runs Video Vortex. And they're going around the country bringing VHS swaps, and they're playing they're playing the famous horror film Video Violence, but they're also playing this documentary at the video store. And they're bringing the director, James Westby, along with Q&A and other people involved in the film. So I happened to see it here in Los Angeles, and now it's coming to New York on Thursday, the 27th of February. So if you're in New York, you can see it there, and eventually be coming to San Francisco in April, and hopefully it'll be coming to home video and hopefully VHS as well very soon. But I was very happy to talk to director James Westby about this film and how it came together over a 7-year filming process. So here's my interview for the documentary At the Video Store.
Hey, I'm James, and I directed At the Video Store. It's taken about 7 years to complete, but it's now in theaters and on physical media very soon.
Great to hear it. Let's back up. What's your history with video stores? Going all the way back to when you worked at them.
Yeah, that was my job. It was, I guess you could call it a career for all the things that afforded besides just a very small paycheck, as I recall. I've worked in a total of, I counted them as I was preparing this movie to play in theaters. I've worked at 9 video stores.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, both in Oregon and a couple in California. One in California was especially one of the big stores, Rocket Video. But that was later. I started out here in Portland, Oregon, at a place called First Stop Video. And it was kind of a mom and pop shop, but I just couldn't believe I worked there. I was, I think, 18, and it was the best job ever. I'd worked in a Nintendo kiosk in a mall, which was comparable, but nothing like this, because of the breadth of the selection and just learning about movies, taking home 1,000 movies a month. I don't know if that might actually be an accurate figure, come to think of it.
And now, obviously, there are some young people today who don't really remember video stores very well. What do you think, in summary, what makes video stores important, or at least something that should be remembered and treasured, even if they're not as common today?
Well, I think it's still as useful a tool or useful a space for becoming a person like yourself, or I guess like myself, a proper film nerd who has seen all the important films or has access to all the films that they could ever want to see. There's really nothing that compares to that other than the library, the public library here in Portland. Two of the libraries that I can think of are two of the best video stores that I've been to. They have everything. But I also don't want to, I still am kind of not a proponent of that because I want people to get back to the actual stores. And here in Portland, we have 2 left, Movie Madness and a little bit out of town, Great American Video and Espresso, both of which are featured in my film. But really, it's just the access to, it's pretty commonplace to say, especially with the folks in my movie. Everybody pretty much talks about how streaming sucks and renting rules. Just to simplify it. And it's true. When you go onto Amazon, it's really hard to find something in the way that you would find at a video store, as in the browsing experience, is something that's dying, and it's sad because we need more people out there that know their movies, know their directors, and know their film history.
Now, when did you start thinking about making this documentary? Was there a specific moment or interaction that inspired the idea, I need to make this film?
It was kind of a combination of a couple of stores here in Portland going out of business. There was a great shop on Mississippi Avenue called Video Verite, and it was the first all DVD, and I guess Blu-ray also. But it said all DVD on the sign, which is kind of cool. And it was curated really well. It was tiny, but had such great films. And Mark Mohan, who ran that, or who owned that shop, was going out of business, and I just wanted to interview him, at least for the archives, just for the sake of local history, like, going away. But if I go way back to like 2007, was about the time I stopped working at Videorama, which is also featured in my film, and is no longer there. But it was a combo gym video store, as in it had a gym built into it, so people would come and work out and then get movies on their way out. I mean, that's one trajectory that people would have, during the day, going to work out, and then getting their video and going home. Other people would just come to the video store side and wonder why it smelled so sweaty or whatever. But the gym was right there, and it made a lot of noise. But it was fun. It was a weird mixture of nerds and jocks. In 2007, when I still worked there, I did shoot a bunch of footage with an old. Actually, it was new at the time, but it was a little toy camera made by, I think, Mattel. It was called the Vidster. If I'm getting that right, it was a little tiny thing. It shot on a little memory card, and it just made this weird grainy, kind of like a with like a pixel vision type image.
Yeah.
Really grainy, and just it was just fun to shoot with. It was really easy to just pick it up and just start shooting B-roll. Anyways, a lot of that made it into the film as kind of my own archival footage, which between 2007 and now, things have changed drastically.
Oh, yeah. But you make a good point, though, that this video store that's a half video store, half gym. When you're making did you seek out those kind of unique video stores? Because some of them they have, like you have one in the film, that's also an espresso store as well. So, and when you were looking for video stores to film, what were you looking for in them?
Well, first it was just wanting to kind of celebrate my friends and interview my friends who I'd worked with, and of course, Videorama, having that gym built into it, was just immediately kind of weird and an interesting subject, and so that was one of the first ones I started with, and the other ones just happened to come along. It was mostly about meeting the folks who ran them or worked in them, or who patronized them, that made me choose where to kind of focus the film. And I filmed probably 15 other video stores that aren't even in the film, because I like my films short. It's not a short film, but it's a feature film, but it's 72 minutes long. It's very tightly compacted in the style that I like. But those other stores did emerge mostly from here. Movie Madness, which was turned into a nonprofit after being saved by a crowdfunding campaign. I think it's funny ironically, when the internet helps save a video store. It's happened several times. But I kind of lost my train. Oh, yeah. Movie Madness has a museum, basically a props museum of old costumes from Bonnie and Clyde and The Godfather 2, and amazing, just behind glass. Like, you can walk through there, and it's a museum. So it's in itself, it's kind of a combo shop, much like the gym, but in a completely different way. And then this video store that moved into a U.S. Bank building so they could utilize the drive-through window, and became a successful coffee shop, which then in turn saved that video store. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, there used to be pizza and video. I don't know if I ever myself was a member of a store that had a pizza place in it, but I'm told that was really popular. And of course, in the 80s, tanning beds was another popular combo element.
No, it definitely, it's interesting to see how video stores, try and adapt and try and survive no matter what. But unfortunately, several of the film stores in your film have closed, since you filmed them. How is it, to watch the movie now and sort of see, oh, I'm glad I have this on film, but sadly I can't go there anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and again, I'm lucky because I do live in Portland, and I do I do go to Movie Madness every week and rent something and support the system and that store. But yeah, the whole movie. I mean, I tried to kind of mix the sadness of it all with some really interesting characters who say hilarious things. So that helps temper the painful nostalgia that kicks in when I see some of those images of stores that I loved, that are no longer there. And a couple of them, they were literally going out of business while I was when I
Mm.
met them and filmed them.
Were they excited to be part of the film? Were they happy to share their stories and their memories?
Oh yeah, I think everybody was. Barry Solon and Annie Solon, who are actually going to be at the Alamo screening tomorrow night in Brooklyn.
Great.
And actually, a lot of the people from the film that I haven't seen together, I've never seen them together in the same room, but they're also East Coast folks. A woman, Katya, who ran the store video gallery in Park Slope, is going to be there, and it's just a collection of really really interesting, really funny people, and the film discusses a little bit about where they're moving on to after the at least in their case, the video store era has ended.
And there's a really amazing sequence in the film where one of the video store owners takes a walk around his old neighborhood where he used to have his store. Can you tell me about that? Felt like a very powerful kind of day to spend with this guy, and he meets all his old friends. How was that filming that sequence?
Yeah, that was one of my favorites, and I kind of used that uh, overall kind of as a skeleton, like a structure for the film. Just kept coming back to him as it's basically this guy Marty Arno, who's in Brooklyn Heights, New York, where he used to have a store, and he hadn't been back to the neighborhood. He moved to Long Island or Staten Island, Long Island, and he came back, and I met him through a cinematographer who shoots for Alex Ross Perry,
Hmm.
Sean Price Williams, and he had worked for both Barry and Annie at Video American in Baltimore, and this guy Marty Arno in Brooklyn Heights. But Marty, when I met him, he agreed to meet me just to talk about the old days, and met him back in his old neighborhood, which he hadn't been to for maybe 8 years, and. Over the course of 2 hours, I just filmed him reuniting with people who recognized him on the street from the video store, and I must have filmed 30 people reuniting with him. I probably used about 10 or 12 in the montage that is him walking around his neighborhood. But it was my favorite thing, one of my very favorite things in the movie, because it didn't show any video store action. I mean, he definitely talked about movies, and the folks in the neighborhood talked about movies and how great the store was. But it was mostly, it was just a literal kind of just showing the community aspect of a video store without actually showing it, because people were just, they just knew him because they went in there every day or every week, and there were just so many people that saw him like Marty, and so it kind of exemplified the community spirit of the film, I think, in the best way. Which was in a very verite way, as in I was just following him and he was just talking to people, and then I interviewed him a little bit, but it was just mostly about just watching him interact with these folks he hadn't seen in so long, whom he used to see just all the time.
Definitely. And you also have some celebrities in the film. You have like Bill Hader is interviewed in the movie. How do those connections come about, and were they did they jump at the chance to be part of the film?
All the, I guess, famous people and some of my heroes, John Waters and Todd Haynes, particularly, they were all associated with one of the stores in the film. Bill Hader we used to go to Allen's Alley in Chelsea, which was a legendary store, which is featured extensively in the film. And he found out that we were making this film and wanted to be in it, and he just wanted to praise Allen, and then he ended up, of course, I interviewed him for a couple hours, and he just ended up being the biggest nerd of all. Like, knows more about that kind of nerd I'm talking about, that you can only become if you go to video stores. And he, especially when he moved to LA, he went to Cinephile a lot.
Mm.
And then when he got on Saturday Night Live, he started going to Allen's. And Ted Hope and a couple others also are interviewed about Allen's Alley, and they just loved it. It's just the messiest, most seemingly disorganized space ever. But Alan knew where everything was, and Alan Sklar, the owner of that's going to be at the screening as well. And then Todd Haynes is a board member of the Hollywood Theater, which eventually, bought or took over Movie Madness, and so he was always a big fan of Movie Madness, and he's a big, uh, fan of 50s melodramas. And Mike Clark, who owns Movie Madness, has all of his props and costumes from that era, and I think he's really into that store because of that. And then Gus Van Sant used to go to a store out on the Oregon coast, which is a tiny little shop with mostly VHS, and that was a fun little thing too, because it was a super obscure shop that's actually still there, and they still have VHS tapes.
Oh, that's
A lot
great.
of them. I think that has to do with it's like a beach, like a beach community. So the rental homes often still have just VCRs, which is kind of cool.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now the film also has.
And then to finish that, John Waters and Nicole Holofcener, they both. Well, she made a movie called Walking and Talking with Kevin Corrigan, which led to me getting him in the film. And John Waters filmed some scenes from Serial Mom at Video American, the one in Baltimore, which led to him. He was a big proponent of that store and a customer, and obviously worked there on a film too.
Now the film also features some great video store songs. How did those come about for the movie? Was that something you come up afterwards? You wanted something to tie the film together, or was that always part of the plan?
Never. It was never part of the plan. I wrote this kind of punk song called "At the Video Store" that my friend Mo Troper recorded, and that kind of I kept thinking, well, maybe, it would be cool to have this on the credits or something. But then I started writing these other songs, some really silly, some a little sweeter and more melancholy, mostly to help me structure the film. And I also, I've been working on it for many, many years. It's like 7 years in total. It's a movie I just kind of kept, while I would work on other projects, commercials and things, I would just keep picking at it in my basement. And I started, sometimes a Talking Heads documentary just seems, I don't know, it seems like it could use a little something. So I just kept writing songs as they came to me and worked them into the film. And I like the way they help me structure it out. And I got some really talented local musicians to perform them.
Terrific. Now the film is playing. It's kind of touring the country right now with the VHS Festival, which is part of Alamo Drafthouse. How did that come about? It's really great. It's a perfect venue for the movie.
Yeah, we met up with this guy. I just call him Lunch Meat VHS. I guess his name is Josh Schaefer. Is that right?
Yep.
I know him as Lunch Meat, who wrote the book, the Stuck on VHS, the VHS stickers book. It's a coffee table book, and it's fantastic. And we just met up with him, and he's actually his label is going to put my film on VHS.
That's great.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, and VHS Festival's been fun just because it's these short little bursts of like taking it to Brooklyn and Denver, and we'll be going to San Francisco in April. And it's a nice mix of these short little screenings and just this particular kind of film nerd that shows up at the Draft House, along with going to bigger film festivals. So it's helped make it an interesting mix of screenings for sure.
Well, thank you so much, James. I'm so happy this film exists. I think it's really great to celebrate video stores like this, and I'm happy this film is out there and showing to people.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a blast. It's just a scrappy little movie that, like I said, I've been working on forever, and it's fun to show it to the people that that might not know about video stores. Like I took it to Boston University, and some students there most of the students that watched the film had never been in a video store before. So it's fun to show it to folks like that who are finding out about this phenomenon for the first time, and people who used to frequent them all the time, and hopefully, we'll get back to it.
They can share memories and share recommendations.
Yeah, the trickiest thing, as you probably know, is just getting people to rent something and bring it back, and that process is the archaic part of it. That I'm trying to get people back into.
So that was my interview with James Westby for his documentary At the Video Store. Like I said, you can see it in New York tonight if you're listening tonight, but it'll be coming to San Francisco in April And like he said, hopefully coming to home video very soon. So we'll let you know when that happens. But like I said, if you're a VHS fan, a video store fan, it's a must-see. That's all we have this episode of 1 Week Only. As always, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Give us a like or a share, or retweet. We'd love to hear from you. And find all our episodes on iTunes and SoundCloud. Lots of other interviews and episodes with filmmakers and indie films. But until next time, I'm Connor. Thank you for listening.